welcome everyone to this session. I'm super excited to have you all here. The session is Kubernetes cost optimization, how to actually do it. So very much a welcome on my part, and thank you for Kong for organizing such a great event. But let's get straight to it essentially. So let's go to the next slide. So Kubernetes cost optimization is the topic of the day. So this, I'm going to just talk about expectation management, what to expect from this session. So the session description, if you've seen it, is very comprehensive, and that's what I aim to always deliver in conferences. But I do have to say that since this is a 20-minute session, obviously we're limited in time and in the things that I can show, so we cannot show everything. But that does not stop us from trying to be as comprehensive as possible. So very happy to have you here. So I will essentially be taking you through the basic principles of cost optimization, then do a deep dive-ish type of thing into 8 best practices, then give you open source project suggestions that you can use to take your cost optimization to the next level, and then present you with one automation tool that you can use automate your cost optimization. So that's amazing, and let's get to it essentially. But yeah. It will be, the session is rather cloud agnostic. So any cloud vendor, you can use essentially these tips and tricks. But we will definitely be focusing on cloud and Kubernetes today. Yeah. So then I think one of the important things is to say, who am I and why am I speaking here today? So hi, everyone. I'm Annie. I am a product marketing manager at Cast AI, which is a Kubernetes cost optimization company. So you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on GitHub, and in any of the places. And usually I'm there with the handle Annie Talvasto. Really easy, just first name, last name. Lovely, super excited to talk with you all at any time. So I am a cloud native technology marketer and Kubernetes specialist. I have been managing the Kubernetes and CNCF meetup for Finland for over 3 years now, almost 4 years at the moment. I am the co-host of the Cloud Gossip podcast that you can find at cloudgossip.net. So, and I also love speaking at meetups, local meetups, international conferences, all of these. So it is a passion of mine to be sharing technological things to everyone in these kind of ways. So then first, why does cost optimization matter? Why should it matter to an organization? Why is it so important? And I think on a personal and a company level, everyone has probably been in the situation where anyone has received a surprisingly large cloud bill, and the surprise and the kind of what happened that comes with it. So on that personal and organizational level, it definitely matters quite a lot to be able to manage your cloud bill. Then I think in the big picture, why cost optimization matters nowadays particularly is because in the history, it mattered, but in a bit of a different way. So even to this day, over-provisioning is norm rather than the exception. Because I understand it, because back in the day, people had to actually go out and buy physical hardware to make sure that their services kept up and running. So obviously, you had to over-provision to prepare for possible peaks. But that has all kind of changed with the cloud. So cloud makes flexible scaling possible, and it had introduced so many new services one can use, which obviously increase our compute use from there. So cost optimization really has, I think, has become and will become even a bigger topic in the industry going forward, because it's hugely important. And I think a good thing to point out as well is that usually when companies start doing cost optimization, they actually also start investing more into the cloud. Because when you do cost optimization, that opens up the possibilities of, investing more into the services that you want to use, investing more into new team members, finding new engineers, all of these things. So cost optimization doesn't necessarily mean less cloud. It just means smarter way to use cloud. So it is highly important. Then to the next slide. Why is cost optimization then so complex? We are in a situation where I think cost optimization should matter to everyone, and it should be a talking point. But then why is it so complex if everyone should be doing it? Here is a snapshot of AWS pricing that I've taken. And this is literally just a snapshot. There's so many more instances. There's so many more info about it. So it is very confusing. It is very hard to follow. It is very hard to keep up your knowledge around it. And even with particularly with the Kubernetes space, it's really difficult and expensive. So there's so many questions that you have to answer, from how many nodes do you need and how big they should be, how many pods, how many containers do you need, how big they should be. So there's so many questions that need answers. And obviously you can't only answer the questions one during deployment. You have to continuously be ready to answer the questions and keep up with your knowledge and with your optimization. So no wonder that it's hard. It is very difficult to keep up with. And I think in general, the system is also rather built so that cost optimization is not the default. So over half of Kubernetes applications use less than 30% of the CPU resources that I booked them for them, according to Datadog. So it's a place where it's the norm to just over provision and not to think about it, kind of. And I think that's easy to leave it at that. But since you are here, you're interested in cost optimization, and that's wonderful because it can really open great doors, as mentioned in the last slide. So then getting to the actual recommendations. So you can do so many things with cost optimization. There's anything from policies to idle resources, heat maps, right sizing, reserved instances, spot instances, multi-cloud, understand your bill, auto scaling, allocation, review, goal setting, so many. I'm not going to even name everything on the slide because it would take a bit of time on my session. So there's so many things you can do. I'm going to focus on a few things. And first, before I focus on the 8 practices that I've highlighted today, first let's cover some base with the basic things, I think. So these, all that I'm highlighted here, are governance things that you need to really handle. You need to have a basic understanding of and have a basic thing, because to do cost optimization well, you also have to do optimization or well in your company. But I will not be focusing on these governance aspects because these depend largely on your organization. So large companies might have full teams focused on forecasting only, and smaller companies do not have that luxury. So I decided not to focus on this side, or rather focus on things that everyone can actually implement and utilize in their work. But essentially, I think one of the important things here that is usually often overlooked is understand your cloud bill. So even though it is very confusing, there's so many mysterious codes, it might look completely different than the development side of it. So it's very hard to grasp, but I think understanding that really gets you started with your journey into doing cost optimization well. Because when you understand your bill, and you understand how it affects your environment and your architecture, then you can take it to the next level as well. And all the other things are obviously important as well. Yeah, and I will provide a resource in the end where you can check out these a bit more in depth. But then going to the best practices, the 8 ones that I'm sharing today to kick off this session. So let's get to the first one, which is define your requirements. So essentially what it means that you should only order what your workload needs across the compute dimensions. So from CPU count and architecture to memory, storage, and network. So even if an affordable instance might look tempting, but what happens if you start running a memory-intensive application and you end up with a performance issue affecting your brand or customers? It's not a good place to be at. So you should pay attention when choosing between CPU and GPU dense instances for sure. So to the second one, which is choose the right instance types. So as mentioned here, AWS offers more than 150 different instance types, so it's quite a lot. So there's really no denying that compute resources are then the biggest line item on your bill. So picking the right VM instance type can go actually quite a long way already. So cloud providers offer many different instance types, matching a wide range of use cases, which with differently combinations of CPU, memory, storage, and networking capacity. And every type comes in one or more sizes, so you can scale your resources properly. But really know this, cloud providers roll out different computers for their VMs, and the chips in those computers have different performance characteristics. So you might pick an instance type with a strong performance that you don't actually need, and you might not even know about it. So it can be quite a lot with so many instance types. And the best way to verify a VM's capabilities is by benchmarking. So by dropping the same workload on every machine type and checking its performance from there. So then third, verify storage transfer limitations. So data storage is definitely another cost optimization aspect worth your time spending on. So each application out there comes with unique storage needs. So make sure that the VM you pick has the storage throughout what your workload needs. So also avoid expensive drive options like premium SSD unless you're planning to really use them to the fullest. So 4, check if your workload is spot ready. So spot instances are a really great way to save on your Kubernetes bill or anything. And but before jumping into this spot space immediately, you need to really decide on how you build your framework and how do you use spot instances then, and how you implement. So here I've highlighted a few questions that you should think about before you go with the spot instances. So how much time does your workload need to finish the job? Is it mission and time critical? Can it handle interruptions? Is it tightly coupled between instance nodes? What tools are you going to use to move your workload when a cloud provider pulls the block? So these are just a few beginning questions that you need to start answering before jumping into the spot world. So continuing on the same topic, you should cherry pick your spot instances. So when choosing spot instances, pick the slightly less popular instance because they're less likely to get interrupted. So after you, once you pick your instance, check its frequency of interruption, at the rate with which the instance reclaimed capacity during the trailing month. So you can see the AWS Spot Instance Advisor ranges from there, and the ranges are from under 5%, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, and then more than 20. So don't shy away from using spot instances for more important workloads as long as you know what you're doing. And AWS offers the type of spot instances that gives you an uninterrupted time guarantee for up to 6 hours in hourly increments. And you just pay a little more for it and still achieve a discount on the on-demand pricing as well. So then 6 is bid your price on spot. So once you find the right instance, it's then the good time to set the maximum price you're ready to pay for it. The instance will only run on the marketplace price below or equal to your bid. So here's the rule of thumb. Set the maximum price to the one that equals the on-demand price. Otherwise, you risk getting your workloads interrupted once the price goes higher than what you have set. So to boost your chances of snatching spot instances, you can set up groups of spot instances called in AWS spot fleets and request multiple instance types at the same time. So you will be paying the maximum price per hour for the entire fleet rather than the specific spot pool. And it requires a lot of work, but the cost optimization will definitely happen. So it works even though it takes a bit of time to manage it. So number 7, use mixed instances. So this is something that's specific to Kubernetes only. A mixed instance strategy gets you great availability and performance at a reasonable cost. So you basically pick different instance types since some of them are cheaper and just good enough, but might not be suitable for high throughput, low latency workload. So depending on your workloads, you can often pick the cheapest machine and make it actually work. Or you could have a smaller number of machines with higher specs. So this can help slash your Kubernetes bill because each node actually requires to have Kubernetes installed on it, and it adds always a little overhead. But mixed instances do present some scaling challenges. So in mixed instance scenario, each instance uses a different type of resource. While you can scale up the instance in your auto-scaling groups using metrics like CPU and network utilization, you'll get inconsistent metrics. But then cluster autoscaler helps here by allowing you to mix instance types in node group. But yeah, so there's always good and bad sides to everything. But then the last of the 8 recommendations is make multiple regions work for you. So instances spanning across several regions increase your availability. So it is recommended, for example, by AWS to configure multiple node groups, scope each of them to a single region, and then enable the balance similar node groups feature. And if you create only one node group, you can scope that node group to span across multiple regions. So that's very nice as well. So that's it for the 8 best practices tips for general Kubernetes and cloud cost optimization. But then I think it's worth looking into what is actually holding teams back. Is it the lack of knowledge, or is it something else? So because if this knowledge is all very not very commonplace, but it is out there, why isn't more people doing cost optimization constantly? I think a really great report by FinOps Foundation, the State of FinOps 2021. FinOps Foundation is under the Linux Foundation. In their report, they have asked their members on what are their FinOps practices and how do they manage these things. So what challenges do FinOps teams face? 39% said that getting engineers to take action is one of the main challenges that they have. And then there's dealing with shared costs, accurate forecasting, reducing waste or unused resources. And then what tools do FinOps practitioners use? So they use native tools, third-party vendor platforms. And surprisingly to me, and I think a lot of people probably, is that 32% use spreadsheets. And nearly half of the respondents say that they have little to no automation. So what I think this tells us is it's hard to get people to take action. It's hard to get people involved. It's difficult to kind of approach cost optimization. But then at the same time, there's little to no automation. So I think this is the perfect spot to be focusing on, because if you have automating tooling, it's a lot easier to take cost optimization up. It's a lot easier to manage it. It doesn't require so much manual work. So this is something that you can actually take your engineers to take action a lot easier. So this is a great way to increase cost optimization. Just to highlight a few CNCF project solutions that can be used to kind of build up your cost optimization. So CNCF is the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, which is home to Kubernetes. So in there, you have event-driven autoscaling, which is Kata, a really great, wonderful project. You can use application management tools such as Helm. Monitoring is highly important, so you can use Prometheus, for example. And then container workflow, Flux works great. And then I highly, highly recommend using a service mesh, such as Kuma, for example, works wonderfully. But I think one of the best approaches to this is actually using a comprehensive solution, an AI or automation-driven cost optimization, because then you can get fully benefits from all the things that I've mentioned without too much work needed on your part. And you can obviously build your own kind of solution bit by bit from the CNCF solutions as well. But I think automation-driven cost optimization is really great. So there's multiple places, multiple platforms that offer it, but the one that I'm most excited about is definitely Cast AI. And I do work for Cast AI, but I'm also personally incredibly excited about it because I think it's absolutely a wonderful thing. And we have been building Cast AI, the Kubernetes cost optimization engine, for a while now, and it's amazing to hear great feedback on it, but also amazing to hear any feedback on it. So if you try it out, let me know and tell me the positive, the negatives, everything. We're always building even a better product every day. So no worries there. So then I will show you how easy to use automation to automate your cost optimization. So all the things that I've said, totally important. But now a few steps that you can also take advantage of pretty much all the steps that I've shown before. So in here, this is how you get started with cost optimization automation. So you connect your cluster. In here you can see it's a simple script that you paste to your terminal, and then you will give read-only access to Cast AI to get started, and no worries there. Nothing will be changed on your environment. We just take a peek to see what there can be optimized and what are the kind of needs particularly in your cluster. So it's completely customized to you. And then this will produce, after you connect, this kind of really great report, which is already really nice, provides a lot of information. It's the savings report. So in there you see your current compute cost, you see how many policies you've enabled, you see your progress on how close are you to an optimal setup. And in there in the middle, I can highlight, for example, that you have the workloads there. You can already see there that some of them are spot friendly. So then you don't have to go manually kind of think through the solution workload by workload on is it spot friendly or not. The platform will tell for you. And then current cluster configuration, optimized cluster configuration. And so it takes a lot of the guessing out of the optimization if you use an automated platform. So then if you want to take it further, you can then enable a cost optimization automation to your cluster. So you just add some more access rights, but not too many. It's just to optimize the cluster, nothing more, no environment, no application changes necessary at all. And then you get to this kind of field where you can then see all the policies that you can enact. So you have policies from CPU policy, which ensures that your cluster stays within the defined CPU minimum and maximum counts. You have horizontal pod autoscaler. You have spot and preemptive instance policies, which I really want to highlight as a really great thing, because this is something that that automates the spot instances, and they are really hard to sometimes manage, and people kind of shy away from them. But this takes them easy, makes them automated, lets you handle everything super easily. So it's really nice. And in addition to this, there's also deletion of nodes evictor policy, but it didn't fit my screenshot, unfortunately. But yeah, and after that, you will get an updated savings report that tells you what your current configuration is. And we're also building, for example, ongoing savings part where you can see then ongoing savings. So a little teaser there to see in the future. Then I want to highlight that if you're interested in finding out more about Cast AI, you can go to this link, castai.ai/Annie. There's a really nice Google form there where you can input your email address, essentially, and you will get an email from us, essentially, but also a surprise gift that might have something to do with Kubernetes, plushies, stickers, and T-shirts, these kind of things. It's the only way to give really nice things in this kind of virtual event. So happy to get you all there and connecting. And you can always send me a message as well if you're interested. And as a recap, we went through 8 best practices that I highlighted. We went and looked a bit on CNCF project solutions, Gata, Helm, Prometheus, Flux, Kuma. And then we went through an automated option that you can also use to manage cost optimization in your projects and in your company. So here's some resources that are really great that I want to highlight. So FinOps Foundation has really great principles that anyone can kind of take and build upon top and to get further in your cost optimization journey. Then 8 best practices to reduce your AWS bill for Kubernetes. It's a Cast AI block piece, which is really great resource. A lot of the things that I've spoken here is mapped there already. So if you want to kind of find out more about those, you can check that out. And also the governance policies are more described there. And as always, with my presentations, you can find my slides from my GitHub. And that's it for the presentation part. And thank you so much for Kong.